Hey guys, this is GamerCow. Welcome to another Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate Armor Set Showcase. This time we're going to show off pretty much my favorite, or at least my most used set for my typical Blademaster weapons at this stage. It basically plays on all of my favorite aspects of the game and doesn't need any slots on the weapon to work. The catch? It's not particularly scalable. It doesn't really add any levels of customization to the skill set. It's pretty much fixed in its ways no matter how many slots you've got, and so it doesn't necessarily work with the free slot weapons because they tend to not have as good stats in some aspect, like either the sharpness or just the attack power or whatever. So it's really designed to work with minimal slot weapons. So let's have a look at it now. I've upgraded the defense on this thing a lot. Of course, I still have the power charm and all of the armor talent and stuff like that out with me. I only have one piece of equipment left to upgrade on this set, and that is the gloves. So very high on the defense end. Divine spheres are very good for that. Normally this would be sitting, I think, at about the 712 mark, somewhere around about there. So if you haven't had Divine Armor Spheres yet, don't worry too much, it still fits with the sort of end game level of gear, so that works quite well. And the resistances are okay except for Dragon, which is really bad, but you have Evasion, so you should be able to evade through most of the Dragon based attacks. Probably wouldn't suggest taking this into Stygians and Noga unless you eat that out, however, because that could get ugly very quickly. So the skills, it's a combination mostly of the GX Temper stuff that came out in August with the Bombs Over God Marcios quest, and it combines that with the Black Fatalis claws that are also relatively new, and then it combines basically just those with the Kushala Teostra parts that you should already have, because the Kaiser Mail and Kushala Cocoon are amazing pieces of gear that work in a wide variety of mixed armor sets. So the Kushala and the Tempest parts are the pieces that help to give Evasion and Evade Extender, so we have +2 and of course Extender on that. Speed Sharpening, there are 2 points on the GX gear and the rest of it comes from the decorations. And then Sharpness +1 Razor Sharp is pretty much my favourite combination of skills in the game, because most of the weapons I use tend to run through their sharpness very quickly. Insect Glaive, Sword and Shield, and even sometimes the Switch Axe, depending on which one you're using, they all can run through sharpness very quickly, and I don't really like that too much, so Razor Sharp is an invaluable skill for me. I will always try and get it where possible, mostly because I've got a really good charm for it. My charm, as we've seen several times before, is Sharpness +8 with 2 slots. So this lets me very easily get Razor Sharp, especially with the Dragon Claws, because they happen to have 3 points of that and 3 points of Handicraft built in. They're actually really strong for general sets. It's a shame they don't have any slots, but they are very powerful pieces of equipment there, and they work quite well with some of the other gear. At least for the gunner version, works quite well with the Gen Moran gear for brutality, which is quite nice. Unfortunately, I don't really have a way of getting brutality on here, but that is okay. The charm itself you could probably get away without necessarily needing a Sharpness +8 with 2 slots here, depending on what type of weapon you go for. If you go for a weapon that has 1 slot, then I think you could possibly get away with having 1 less slot on the talisman, because you could put the 3 points of the Evade 2 gem into the wing pleats, and then you'd have 1 slot on the weapon, 1 slot on the charm. But it is a little bit specific, I will be the first to admit that, but if you've got a charm that has a point of handicraft as well as the sharpness, then you could cut, 2 of the slots out of this and you could probably try and get a different skill, but that's unfortunately not something I have. In terms of other skills you could get though, you could, if you had a 1-slot weapon, get any of the 2 points for 1-slot things instead of speed sharpen, if you don't really care for that, because you can eat for polisher. Anything like fire, ice, thunder res, whatever you would need for that. You could have water res if you are fighting Tidal Najarala. Never get water blighted. It's quite a powerful thing, to be honest. Divine Blessing is another thing you could have. That's a fairly common one. If you're using a blast weapon, then you could get Bombardier, which is pretty good. The light break weapons would work very well with that. Or if you have a couple of slots on the weapon, you could probably get Quick Sheath, because of the 3 points of sheathing that the Dragon Claws have. You could shoot for that as well, which is relatively strong. Obviously depends on the weapon, but stuff like the Switch Axe would benefit from that quite a lot. So there's a very small amount of customizability, but most of the skills that are on the set are already used in terms of allocation. So it really isn't the sort of set that you can tailor to your own needs quite as much, but the skills that are on here are rather concise and help with my own personal playstyle. Because, I mean, especially for Switch Axe, which is what I built this set for, Evade Extend is amazing. If you can get it, you should definitely get it for Switch Axe, because being able to roll towards the enemies rather than putting your weapon away, it is a massive difference. And Evade Extend, like, gives you 50% more distance on your rolling, so you really don't have to worry so much about the enemy being really far away. Evasion is also really good for Switch Axe, but it's just a general thing I like, because I can roll through certain monster attacks that I normally can't, and I can stay much closer to the monster as a result. Stuff like Devil Joe doing some really weird things that most of the time you can roll through Devil Joe stuff, but if he starts doing the forward lunge stuff, or even if you get caught in a bad place against rocks, it's nice to be able to just evade through his stuff, stay at his feet, and poke him till he dies, because, well, that's what you do in Monster Hunter. So I use it as an aggressive skill rather than necessarily needing it as a crutch. I do have sets I do not use evasion with, and we'll be seeing one of those next time. But for now, that is essentially what we are looking at. It's not the prettiest of sets, I will be the first to admit, but it has a really weird vibe to it. I don't know, I kind of like it, but then it's mostly because of the Kaiser cape that I like it. Teostra's cape is just absolutely amazing, and any armor set that I can use that cape with, I will do so. Apparently the female armor doesn't have a cape, and that's sad face, but that is besides the point. So this is just a typical little set that you'll see me use with Sword and Shield, with Insect Glaive, Switch Axe, any of that sort of thing. I would even use it with Charge Blade if I was so inclined to use a Charge Blade, because it is a very nice typical set for stuff that way. So yeah, this has been GamerCow showing off one of my more commonly used armor sets in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Next time we'll show off one that doesn't actually have evasion, but instead has other skills to go with it instead, which is equally useful in its own right. See you guys next time.